You ever feel like you're watching a team that's not just losing games, but losing its soul? That's the vibe around Cleveland right now. Because what's happening with the Browns isn't just about bad quarterback play. It's not just about conservative coaching. It's about a franchise tearing itself apart from inside out. And at the center of it all is one rookie. A kid who hasn't even been given a real chance to prove himself, but already has the power to split this organization in two. His name? Sanders. And trust me, this isn't just another quarterback story. This is a battle for the future of the Browns. The Cleveland Browns are right back in the middle of a quarterback storm, but this one feels different. It's not injuries. It's not another draft bust. It's not some washed-up veteran trying to squeeze out one last paycheck. No, this is about something bigger. This is about power. And let me tell you, you can feel it. Every post-game press conference, every stiff, conservative play call, you can sense the tension boiling beneath the surface. The Browns are stacking early losses behind a quarterback who should be mentoring, not starting. And through all the noise, through all the excuses, one name keeps getting louder and louder. Shadur Sanders. Yeah, the rookie. A fifth-round pick. A so-called project quarterback. The kid whose preseason numbers were so ugly half the internet laughed. Minus 27 yards, 5 sacks, 0 scoring drives. Brutal. Ugly. A disaster on paper. But here's where people got it wrong. That wasn't just failure. That looked like sabotage. Because let's be real, Sanders wasn't the one who failed. He was failed. Failed by paper-thin protection. Failed by 0 adjustments. Failed by a development plan that looked more like punishment than preparation. You throw a rookie out there with third-string receivers, a vanilla script, and a leash shorter than a halftime show. What outcome are you expecting? And yet, despite the mockery, despite the favoritism toward now, say what you want about Haslam, he's taken plenty of heat over the years, and plenty of it deserved. But right now, he might be the only person in Berea thinking beyond tomorrow. He's watching practices. He's demanding development reports. He's pushing for more snaps. Why? Because he sees it. That spark. Not polished mechanics. Not perfection. Not a ready-made franchise savior. But that raw, unteachable spark. The same thing Josh Allen had when everyone laughed at his accuracy. The same thing Lamar Jackson had when critics swore he was just an athlete. The same thing Patrick Mahomes had sitting behind Alex Smith while people said, maybe in a couple years. And here's where it gets messy. This isn't just about quarterback development anymore. This is a full-on power struggle. Coaching staff versus ownership. Job security versus long-term vision. Stefanski and his crew are clawing for a 9-win season to keep their seats warm. Haslam, he's playing chess 3 years down the line. And that's exactly what an owner should do. He knows the truth. Flacco is nothing more than a stopgap. Gabriel, serviceable at best, not generational. And Sanders, if his ceiling is even close to what some of us believe, you don't bury him on the depth chart to squeeze out another year of mediocrity. But that's exactly what's happening. Sanders remains on the sidelines, no red zone reps, no 2-minute drills, no real run with the starters. Just scraps. And I have to ask, what are we doing here? This kid is 22 years old, dripping with pedigree, high football IQ, elite college production, and the Browns are stressing about readiness. Please. If half the legends in this game were judged by their first month in the league, they'd have been written off forever. Peyton Manning's rookie year was a disaster. Josh Allen's early accuracy numbers were a meme. Even Herbert got doubted out the gate. The only reason they became stars? Somebody actually gave them the chance. So here's Cleveland's fork in the road. Do you keep protecting your coaching staff's fear of failure? Or do you finally let Sanders play? Because let's stop pretending, this team isn't too competitive to risk it. You're already losing with Flacco. The offense is sputtering. The line is collapsing no matter who's under center. Fans are restless. The national media is circling like vultures. What exactly are you protecting by limping to another 7-10 season? At least with Sanders, there's juice. There's energy. There's a reason to watch. And that matters. Football isn't just wins and losses. It's identity. It's entertainment. Right now, the Browns' identity is being swallowed by mediocrity. And the fact that Haslam even has to lobby for the quarterback he personally drafted, that tells you everything you need to know about the civil war inside this franchise. This isn't about who looks sharper in drills. This is about authority. Stefanski doesn't want a rookie he didn't handpick rewriting his story. He doesn't want the spotlight stolen. But here's the reality. He's already losing. Losing games. losing the fans, losing the locker room. And if he keeps stonewalling the one player who could actually ignite this team, he's going to lose his job too. Because Jimmy Haslam isn't just tracking stats, he's tracking loyalty. And when the guy signing the checks believes in a quarterback, but the coaching staff refuses to give that quarterback a chance, that doesn't end in a team meeting. That ends in pink slips. So here's how I see it playing out. Flacco throws a few more desperation picks. Gabriel gets his shot and underwhelms. Fans get louder, chanting Sanders' name until the entire stadium feels like a pressure cooker. And then, finally, Sanders gets the call. Maybe it's week 6. Maybe it's week 8. Maybe after a primetime implosion that blows the lid off everything. And when he does, don't be surprised if the entire team's energy flips overnight. Because Sanders isn't just waiting to play, he's preparing to play. He's staying focused, ignoring the noise, putting in the work. That's professionalism. That's leadership. That's QB1 presence. The Browns just need to stop fighting it. Because let's be real, this isn't about Flacco or Gabriel or even a preseason stat line. This is about vision. And if the coaching staff refuses to align with the owner's vision, then maybe it's not the quarterback room that needs fixing. Maybe it's the headset upstairs. So I'll leave you with this. Should Haslam step in and force Sanders into lineup? Can this kid overcome a coaching staff clearly dragging their feet? And how long can Cleveland ignore the only quarterback on their roster who might actually change their future? Drop your thoughts below and hit that subscribe button because this Brown-Sanders saga, it's just heating up. This isn't just about football anymore. It's about identity. It's about power. And right in the middle of it all is a 22-year-old kid with NFL bloodlines, rare maturity, and the kind of poise that could change everything. If they just give him the chance. I've got to level with you, this quarterback situation in Cleveland feels less like strategy and more like a performance. Gabriel is still gobbling up second-team reps like it's written in stone, and Joe Flacco is strutting into week 1 as if we've all been transported back to 2013. But let's be real, how long do they think this charade can actually last? Because the brutal truth, the one Kevin Stefanski doesn't want to admit, is staring him down like a blitzing linebacker. The Browns are running out of excuses. Every single week that Flacco trots onto the field, every loss that piles up under his watch, the volume only gets louder. Every highlight of Gabriel's painfully average play is just gasoline on the fire, fueling the same question that fans have been screaming from the rooftops. Why isn't Sanders playing? And here's the kicker, every week of silence coming out of Berea doesn't calm the storm. It makes Jimmy Haslam look less like a patient, measured owner and more like a ticking time bomb. We are inches away from detonation. Something is going to snap. Maybe it's a 3-game losing streak. Maybe it's a locker room confrontation. Maybe it's a media firestorm that burns so hot the front office can't spin it anymore. But one way or another, this organization is being shoved into a corner. And when that moment arrives, let me tell you something. Stefanski won't have the leverage. His coaching circle won't have the leverage. Flacco won't have the leverage. The only one left standing will be the guy who's been denied his chance since the day he was drafted, Shadur Sanders. And when Sanders finally gets that shot, when he finally steps into the huddle and takes command of this team, that's when the story changes. That's when everything flips. Now look, I'm not here to sugarcoat the preseason. Sanders' stat line was ugly. Negative yardage. Sack totals that made critics laugh. Social media lit him up like he was some rookie imposter. But let me ask you this. Did Patrick Mahomes never throw ducks as a rookie? Did Josh Allen not look like a lost kid in his first year? Every great quarterback has those moments. That's the tax you pay on growth. What separates the great ones is how they respond. And here's what nobody's talking about. Sanders has responded like a pro. No tantrums. No cryptic Instagram posts. No bitter shots at the media. He's kept his head down. He's grinding. Studying film. Showing up every day like his job depends on it. Because it does. And in that quiet professionalism, in that patience, Sanders has already shown more maturity than veterans twice his age. That's why I believe, when his moment comes, it won't just be another rookie debut. It will be a cultural reset. Cleveland doesn't just cheer for talent. This fan base lives for redemption stories. They worship the underdog who claws his way through doubt, through dysfunction, and still rises. Sanders fits that mold perfectly. Picture it. Sanders walks onto that field, he takes command of the huddle, and he starts firing darts across the middle, hitting tight windows, moving chains. The stadium won't just roar. It'll erupt. Fans will believe again. They'll feel something real again. Not recycle hope. Not déjà vu from the late 2000s. Something new. Something authentic. Because Sanders has that rare, intangible, that aura that makes you lean forward in your seat the second the ball leaves his hand. The calm in the pocket. The poise under pressure. The look in his eyes that says, this moment isn't too big for me. And when he proves it, when he silences the critics and shows the flashes everyone else has been too blind to acknowledge, Stefanski and his staff will look like fools scrambling to explain why they kept him on the sideline for so long. And that's the part nobody inside the building seems to understand. If Sanders succeeds, this entire offseason of resistance, the hesitation, the politics, the passive-aggressive decisions, that becomes the headline. And it won't reflect kindly on anyone wearing a headset. Because here's the reality. When the owner drafts the quarterback, champions the quarterback, and practically begs you to play him, yet you bury him on the depth chart, that's not cautious. That's not patient. That's not strategic. That's defiance. And when the player you tried to bury eventually proves you wrong, it's not just embarrassing. It's career-ending. So what should the Browns do? The answer couldn't be more obvious. Stop overthinking. Stop inventing excuses. Stop protecting a system that hasn't delivered in years. Start Sanders. Not in mop-up duty. Not in garbage time. Not behind vague evaluation statements. Start him. Back him. Build around him. Let him take the hits, make the mistakes, grow into the role, and lead. Because even if he stumbles, even if he throws picks, even if the growing pains are ugly, at least you're chasing his ceiling. At least you're betting on upside instead of settling for mediocrity. And if you're wrong, fine. At least you swung. At least you gave the fans something real. But if you keep hiding behind the not-ready narrative, if you keep pretending that a fifth-round label means he has to stand behind guys he's already outclassed, don't act surprised when Sanders leaves. Don't act surprised when another franchise invests in him, builds him up, and reaps the rewards. Don't act surprised when the fan base turns bitter. And don't act surprised when Jimmy Haslam finally snaps and ends the Stefanski era with one decisive swing. Because here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. The reason Sanders isn't starting isn't football. It's ego. Stefanski didn't draft him. The scouts didn't pound the table for him. The staff didn't sign off. Jimmy Haslam did. And in NFL coaching culture, that's seen as meddling, as interference, as an insult to their authority. But sometimes, the owner is right. Sometimes it takes someone outside the bubble to recognize raw talent. To say, I don't care if this guy was drafted in the 5th round. He's better than what we've got. And the worst part, Cleveland has already lived this nightmare. They've seen young talent mismanaged. They've seen quarterbacks benched, only to thrive elsewhere. They've turned QB development into a running joke, one even Browns fans are too exhausted to laugh at anymore. If Sanders becomes another what if, it won't be because he wasn't good enough. It'll be because the people in charge couldn't stomach believing in a player they didn't control. Meanwhile, what's Sanders doing? He's not making drama. He's not running to social media to vent. He's not leaking complaints. He's working. Quietly. Consistently. Professionally. Showing more maturity than some veterans with fat contracts. That's why there's still hope. That's why fans still whisper about him, like he's the light at the end of the tunnel. And when not if Sanders finally gets that shot, whether it's after Flacco flames out, Gabriel stalls, or Haslam himself slams his fist on the table, it won't be a gamble. It'll be a correction. A course adjustment. A team finally aligning with what everyone outside the building already sees. But the longer they drag their feet, the uglier it gets. Fans fracture. The locker room sours. The media cycle turns venomous. At some point, this isn't just sabotaging a rookie. It's sabotaging the very future you claim to be building. There's still time. Time to pivot. Time to be bold. Time to rally around the only quarterback who gives this team an identity. But the clock is ticking. So here's my call to action. Enough hiding. Enough excuses. Enough cowardice dressed up as caution. Start Sanders. Not next month. Not in week 10. Start him now. Because even if he struggles, at least you'll know. At least you'll have tried. At least you'll have given the fans something authentic. But if you keep clinging to Flacco, if you keep feeding Gabriel meaningless reps, if you keep burying Sanders under politics and pride, don't be shocked when he lights it up in another uniform. Don't be shocked when Haslam finally says enough is enough. So Cleveland, here's the fork in the road. Stick with fear or bet on the future. Keep Sanders sidelined or unleash him and let him cook. One choice keeps you stuck in purgatory. The other might just bring salvation. The fans are ready. The owner is ready. And Sanders, he's ready too. Not flawless, not perfect, but ready. And Cleveland doesn't need perfection right now. It needs belief. It needs identity. It needs a quarterback who embodies both. That quarterback is Sanders. And the only question left is, how much longer are the Browns going to pretend they don't see it?